Well, welcome everyone back to another Kitchen Table TCG market update video. Today we're going to talk about my favorite set, Crucible of War, and I have to say today is going to be one of the more spicy market updates. I love today's video. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you're strapped in and ready. I would highly recommend that you just sit back and watch the whole thing on this one. There's a couple things I might do a video on later as well, because it's an interesting market, and there's some interesting things happening in our market revolving around Crucible of War. So I want to talk about that. Before I get started, I have to show for myself. This is now my full-time gig, so here we go. I do have a collection tracker that is part of my Patreon at KitchenTableTCG.com. There's a Patreon link there, and you get access to a collection tracker where you can track your collection and see the value of your collection that updates every week whenever I make a market update video. So updates 4 times a week for each set, once a week for each set right now, and you can see it's beautiful. It's got a lot of stuff in it. It's got all the promo stuff in it that doesn't update as often, but it's got all the sets that update once a week. You can track the overall value of your collection. I think it's a great way to do so. That's at patreon.com/KitchenTableTCG. And then I love to highlight my friend Mitch over at the Midtown Merchant. If you're looking for singles, I really believe that this is the best place to look. Mitch has blessed us with an awesome promo code. If it's your first time buying there, you can use the code BEKIND to save $5 off your order of $50 or more. If you're a patron, though, you get access to a 10% off discount code every month on your whole order. So thank you to Mitch for doing that. Really appreciate you, Mitch. And Midtown Merchant is a great place to buy your singles. If you can't find what you're looking for there, head on over to TCG Player and use my affiliate link that is in the description of my videos. And that does help support the channel as well. So we're going to talk about Crucible of War. Box prices all the way down. You can see on the screen, you can buy one right now for just over $1,000, almost $1,100. Box prices are low right now. Let's hop in. Let's chat about it. I'm excited. You guys know sometimes I just get more excited about these videos than other times. This is one of those ones that I'm excited about. So let's hop in. So box prices, they're down. They've been going down, but I want to say one thing. So we're down 13% this week, which is obviously terrible and not good. If you own these boxes. If you don't own these boxes, you're like, great, I can't wait to buy one. So down to $1,000. Let's look on the sold listings first. So, $1,000 on eBay, $950 on eBay, $960 on eBay, $5,000 for a case. There's a case premium. There's another case that sold for $4,000 somewhere in here. You're starting to see unlimited boxes pop up. These are some box breaks from somebody. You're starting to see unlimited sales, sales of unlimited pre-orders sometimes on eBay. Box prices around $1,000. Facebook is the same thing. You could even get a little bit less on Facebook as people are trying to avoid fees. But box prices are right around $1,000 seems to be where the market is currently with it. So that's what we're going to use. We're going to do the singles in there kind of line up with that box price. Now, I want to say this before you're like, oh my gosh, look at that downturn. We are everyone's freaking out about the market as a whole, but we are still at the prices that we were in April. We had a blip that went up and then we went back down to where we were a month ago, 2 months ago. This is not the time to freak out. If you like Crucible of War sealed boxes, this is definitely not a time to freak out. This is the time to add to your position. I know I'm getting into my opinion. Somebody said the other day, we're okay with you giving your opinions. I don't know, who knows? But look at the graph. I mean, we are not into prices we're not into prices that were at the beginning of the year or something at 500. We went up and then we were flat and then we went way up. And now we're kind of trailing back down to those kind of original prices that, who knows what is an accurate price for this stuff. It's hard to say what should be a price for a box like this. The market dictates that. And here we are, but it's nothing to freak out about. These box prices are still way higher than most other TCG boxes a year after release. So just keep that all in mind. Yeah. All right, let's move on because there's more stuff. So we're going to see if we can hit this $1,000. Spoiler alert, we do. All right, Fable, the Arknight Shard is, there's currently a listing on Facebook. I meant to pop it up, but I did not. There's a listing currently on Facebook. It's been up for 3 or 4 days. for $4,000. And it's from a reputable seller on Facebook too, somebody who has a lot of history in our community. For $4,000, it's a decent looking card. It's probably not a 9.5, but it's not an 8.5. Yeah, I mean, it'll probably grade decently. $4,000, and it hasn't sold yet. So that's kind of what I'm going with. The market price that's on the North American Facebook group. If you want to pull that up for yourself and look, just search Arknight Shard. And interesting to see that there has not been any sales publicly. There was a 9.5 that sold either this week or last week, that sold for like 6,800 on auction. But as opposed to a raw card, it seems like $4,000 is not moving yet. So that is what it is. That price is the same thing. It's kind of right back to where it was, early April, maybe. That's kind of what it was before the kind of increase in price here. All right, let's go talk about the legendaries. Cheyenne did sell for 4,200. It's pop-up Cheyenne did sell for 4,200 on eBay. So that's a kind of solidification of a price. It had been a couple weeks since we saw a price of Cheyenne. So solidification of a price at 4,200. Didn't see any Tunics, Krunix move. Twinning Blade Extended Art selling for 1,400. This was the one that was kind of damaged last week for 1,150. So I said probably 1,500 is still the price. And then one sold this week for 1,400. That one is actually in pretty good condition, looked pretty nice. So 1,400 for the Twinning Blade. This is the type of stuff, like everyone's saying the market's crashing. Not everyone, sorry. Some people are saying the market is crashing. This is not what crashing looks like, everyone. Crashing doesn't look like going down 10%. It doesn't even look like going down consistently week to week. Crashing looks much more rapid than this. So I have a lot of confidence in Crucible War. That being said, let's go on over. Your average legendary here is sitting at just above $2,000, which is down 10%. Let's go over and look at the cold foils and see how these cold foils are holding up. These rares, not as, it's hard. If you look at the number of sales on the market, it used to be a little bit more. It used to just be kind of like there were less cards that you didn't find sold listings for than not. And it just seems like the market is, I used the term last week, I'm going to use the same term this week. The market is soft, but it's also dry. Okay, so it's soft in that nobody is really buying at prices that people are putting up there, but it's dry in that there's not like this influx of cards where there's like a ton of people trying to sell cards for maybe like less value than they've been worth in the past. So the market is soft, but it's also dry. And that just means that sellers aren't meeting what buyers are asking. Or opposite either. Buyers aren't meeting what sellers are asking. And so that just is kind of where the market is. Auctions are ending low. Nobody is buying now, which is high. Best offers are kind of being accepted, but not really. Harmonized Kodachi actually went up this week with a buy it now at 200. Zephyr Needle sold again for 120. That was the same as last week. I think there was an auction on Plasma Barrel Shot that ended at 110. It may not have been an auction. I can't remember. A Redliner, 145, which is lower than it was last week, but in line with kind of the rest of the prices. That was an old price for Redliner too. That was almost a month old. Reaping Blade didn't sell. Aether Conduit didn't sell. Talishar the Lost Prince, another one sold for 160, which was the same as last week. So all in all, your rare cold foils only went down 3% this week. So interesting to see that. There's just not a ton being sold, not a ton of offers being accepted, not a ton, floating through the market. My guess is people who have them don't have any incentive to sell them, and the market's soft, so there's nobody who's trying to buy them anyway. So it's kind of just this weird place. Your majestic cold foils, a lot of the same. Creative Fist kind of soft, sold listing at 400. Breeze Rider Boots, a sold listing at just over 400. I think that one was TCG Player. Courage of Bladehold, this is currently being offered at 925. I saw somebody say that they won a best offer for 750 on a Courage of Bladehold in my Discord server, but that did not pop up on the sold listings on 130 point. So it was kind of like hard to verify that, but keep that in mind. So $9.25 for a Courage of Blade Hold is currently the low price on TCG Player. There was no kind of sold. Visiatronic for $5.50. That one. So there's one sold on TCG Player at the 550-ish mark, and then there was one sold on Facebook for 400, but it looked like it was like instantly sold. Like it had like a few PMs, and people were saying, I can't believe I missed out on this. So it seems like that was like an instant sell. So I'm not going to use that as like the market price. If it sells instantly, that's not a market price. So Purge Grappler is just a little soft at 480. Gambler's Gloves on TCG Player sold for 830. So, you know, the cold foil M's are down 8%, you know, and there were decent numbers sold. But that's not a huge number. I don't know. That's just not a huge number to me. So, things are soft. It just doesn't seem like there's an influx of cards at these prices. I think it would be hard. Like, I think you have to actually be searching to find people who are selling at some of these prices that are lower. Bloodsheath you can probably pick up for 900. Metacarpus Node you could probably pick up for 800. But if you try to search for Breeze Rider boots for 400, it's going to be tough to find another seller that's going to meet that price, is what I'm trying to say. So let's go ahead and look. So your average cold foil layer is $362. Your average cold foil rare is $178. And your cold foil majestic is $648. All right. We're going to talk about Majestics. This is where things get really, really, really spicy. There were multiple people this week. I'm talking like I probably got 5 PMs from just like individual sellers telling me that Channel Fireball was buying singles on TCG Player from them. Plus then got some stores as well who said the same thing. On TCG Player. So here's the spiciness with Majestic. So we're going to talk about Majestic non-foil or foils, and then we'll talk about Majestic non-foils, which is the Channel Fireball kind of bit. So Stamp Authority, 35, Fine Center down to 20. These were all kind of the same that we've been seeing. They were a little bit soft, but not a ton of movement. And honestly, like not a ton of huge like movements or sales or whatever. So not a ton to talk about in the foil side of the Majestics, which is weird. This is where this gets kind of weird. What doesn't get weird, or what really gets weird, is the Majestic non-foils that were being purchased on TCG Player like crazy. Lots of them being bought up, lots of big orders, including mostly non-foil Majestics. And why is this weird is because it's like right before Crucible Unlimited comes out, it seems like non-foil Majestics are an interesting purchase if you're speccing on things or whatever. So my guess, and I'm going to do a video on this, is that this is connected to the calling in USA that is being teased out by Flesh and Blood LSS and is inevitably going to be here soon. So that being said, there's a lot of sold listings. A lot of things were up, a lot of things were down slightly. And as I was doing these numbers, one of the things I ran into, and this is where I started putting in red, and I wish I would have tracked it up here, but I just didn't. And I'm going to pop up and show you that the current low price, this is, usually what I do is I pop in. So if I'm on TCG Player, so like I'll pop up Dread Triptych, Route of Blones, and Rune Blood Barrier here. These are the seller tools on TCG Player. So like usually this is a new sold listing price. Last week when I did my numbers, this sold listing price was different. So sometime this week, somebody picked up Dread Triptych. I'm telling you it's CFB. Somebody picked up Dread Triptych for $38. Now the low price at $29, here's where things get interesting. The low price at $29 is from a new seller. So like I don't always trust new sellers that pop in, and shipping is also $5. So it's like, what is really the price of this card? So it's like all these cards that were bought up have new sellers at lower pricing. And so I don't want to necessarily use the lower pricing because there's always like a weirdness where you're buying something from a new seller. It's like, is that real? That's a thing in Magic the Gathering people make. I'm not saying that people are making fake accounts and driving the prices down, but that is something that happens on TCG Player for Magic the Gathering. And so what I want to say here is that the sold listing this week is at $38, but this is driving other sellers to lower their price, at, $32, $33. And that there was a huge purchase of non-foil Majestics at these higher price points. And that was across the board. I mean, you look at Rattlebones, low is 38. There was a sold listing at 44. The low is another weird seller. Rainbow Barrier, low is 25. The last sold is 32. So there's a lot of these weird things. I'll just show you again. This is another Timmy Emporium, recently launched, like another new sales thing with no history at all. So there's a lot of that stuff happening on TCG Player right now. And on top of that, so like all these red ones were the same thing. On top of that, there was a lot of cards sold. A lot of them were sold to Channel Fireball. A lot of cards sold of non-foil Majestics. And I really think that this is tied to that kind of calling coming out either before Unlimited Crucible comes out, or I don't know. I'm going to save that for another video for later. The point being is that there was a huge upwards pressure on non-foil Majestics as a result of, a buyout, really. I mean, that's what this was a buyout of non-foil Majestics, for whatever reason that you can speculate in the video below, or in the comments below if you want. Super interesting. I thought it was a really, really interesting point in the market to see. And it's just weird. I mean, it was not the case. I'll tell you what was weird to me is it doesn't seem like a money move or like an investment move or like some sort of shenanigans thing, because it didn't touch many of the rainbow foils. The ones that, like, if you were an investor looking to be like a scummy investor, you'd pull up most of the rainbow foils because that's the easiest thing to see move forward. And so my guess is that this is tied to wanting an inventory for this major kind of calling event or something like that, or some sort of Grand Prix. So I thought that was really interesting. And it's cool to see something like that happen in the market, honestly. So thanks to those it was like one day I just kept getting messages all day of, hey, I got these weird sales. It was interesting. So lots of people report stuff to me, and that's pretty fun. All right, looking at the rares, these are TCG low here. I don't look at sold listings for any of the rares. We are at, sellers have lowered their price by 3%. You can see the rainbow foil rares. Lunging Press is way up. It got bought up to 45. That card's too low. I mean, Lunging Press is just, I didn't get any of them. I think I got none of them in all my 28 boxes of open Crucible War. So short printed rares, that one's going up. Springboard Somersault was also short printed. That one's not going up. All the heroes still kind of holding the values that they were the last couple weeks. Benji is actually down to 55. Looking at the rares, this again is just TCG low, and sellers actually are up this week on the non-foils. Again, it's kind of weird, like non-foils are up across the board. It's kind of bizarre. Common rainbow foil, kind of the biggest thing to look at is our good old, my favorite thing to look at is the Rune Chant tokens at $3 now. All in all, Cracked Baubles at 84. That's soft a little bit. Quicken Token at 10. Copper at 13. We're down 3% there. Nothing to write home at. All right, let's talk about the EV calculation. In each box, you're going to get yourself one cold foil. And And this price is, this number kind of calculates it out that a Majestic cold foil is double as rare, or double as hard to get as the rare cold foil. You get 6 Majestics, 2 foil Majestics, 41 rares, 5 foil rares, and then 1 at 10 boxes will get a legendary, and 1 of 40 boxes will get a fable. So if you open up 40 boxes, your EV would be sitting at $1,405. $1,045.98. And if you don't open a legendary or fable, you'd be sitting, so if you're just opening one box here, you're really shooting at more like $745. This is lower. This is actually higher for the first time in a couple weeks than the box prices, which is another new world. Going back to the days of arbitrage in Crucible of War boxes. Majestics, if you open yourself a Majestic, you're at $1,157. But if you hit yourself a rare cold foil with no legendary, no fable, you'd be sitting at $687. So let's compare these numbers to last week to see if the cards on the market are up or down. We are still down 5% this week from last week at just under 1,100. And if you look at 5% down compared to the box prices were down, I believe it's 13%. So let's pop up and look at that real quick. Box prices were down 13%. So obviously, sealed boxes are just easier to sell for people than singles. So that's the way that works. Top 10 cards to gain value was Lunging Press up to 140%, up to $45. Let's see. The next one was Harmonized Kadashi. The cold foil was up 33%. Gambler's Gloves was up 33% as well. Then you got like Dread Triptych, a majestic foil. The non-foil gainers were Poison the Tips, Absorption Dome, all majestic non-foil cards up. Crazy. And then going on to the foil losers, Crater Fist lost a lot of value, Feigned Death lost a lot of value, and Redliner Cold Foil lost 36%. Looking at the non-foil losers, there were some of these were Majestics, Unified Degree, Feigned Death, and Rattlebones. So that's that. I hope you guys have a great day. Remember, if you want to support the channel, head on over to KitchenTableTCG.com, where you can see the link to my Patreon, which is patreon.com/KitchenTableTCG. And I really appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a great day. And remember to be kind to the people around you.